Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Well, for those of you who've been geeking out on this channel for a while now, you know that we have been through and told many stories about the trials and tribulations of the rare breed trigger. That's right, the forced reset trigger. And we have been trying to speculate for months now, how does the ATF intend on enforcing their new interpretation of what constitutes a machine gun? Now, we certainly knew that the FFLs were going to feel the heat. They always do from the ATF. But what about individuals out there who had purchased one of these items at a time when they were completely lawfully allowed to do so? So that begs the question, what is the ATF going to start doing with some of these individuals? Well, we may begin to have some answers now, and they're a little disturbing. So today, we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about, is the ATF arresting people who purchased rare breed triggers? Okay, before we get going down the road, we are going down. Proud to announce that this video is being sponsored by Legal Heat. That's right, the nation's largest educator of concealed classes nationwide. Legal Heat, since their inception in 2005, has taught over 200,000 people nationwide, over 4,000 people here in the state of Washington. Now, for my Washington residents, you can find a class at any one of these locations here. For those of you watching around the country, listen, if you visit them at mylegalheat.com, that's mylegalheat.com, you are going to find a class somewhere very close to your own backyard. Now, listen, if you find a class and you're interested in signing up, go ahead and use the promo code Washington Gun Law. That is Washington Gun Law, all one word, and you will receive 10% off your first class. So for more information, visit them at mylegalheat.com. Okay, so the issue that we're going to be talking about today is the rare breed trigger. It comes back around and it rears its ugly head. Now, we have done several videos about the rare breed trigger, how the ATF was interpreting it now, and what enforcement efforts may or may not look like. And we predicted that most of this would go through FFLs and through people who had dealt with a lot of these. But the concern for many of you lawful and responsible gun owners out there was, hey, I purchased this thing. There was nothing unlawful about purchasing this. Am I going to end up with ATF agents kicking my door in? And initially we had stated, no, that is highly unlikely. They don't have the manpower and the resources to do that. Turns out we might be a little wrong. Now, when you hear the story, you may believe that this gentleman is not what we would call the normal firearms consumer, but Dateline August 7th, ATF agents did raid the home of 56-year-old Daniel Augusto, who lives in Holyoke, Massachusetts. I think that's just a little bit outside of Boston. Now, they had been conducting an investigation of Mr. Augusto since February of this year. Now, amongst the various things that they raided his home for was possession of unregistered firearms and possession of unlawful machine guns or unlawful machine gun components. In addition to that, he was charged with one count of making a false statement to federal agents because, hey, why not? Now, the ATF agents claim that Mr. Augusto had 44 machine gun components. And I want you to pay a careful attention to how they describe these machine gun components because I think it sheds light on what's going on here. So, in the indictment against Mr. Augusto, they claimed that he had 44, like I said earlier, that he had 44 machine gun components. Now, 38 of them were Glock switches, and I have yet to do a video on Glock switches. I've kind of resisted doing it, but we all know what's going on with Glock switches. We all know how the ATF and the United States Postal Department is viewing that, and we all know what's likely going to happen if you get caught with a Glock switch, which basically takes a Glock and turns it into a fully automatic handgun, an efficient use of ammunition for sure. But that means that there are 4 other machine gun components that are not accounted for because only 38 of them were these Glock switches. Well, what are the other 4? Well, according to the ATF, this is it. The ATF claims that Mr. Augusto had 42 machine gun conversion devices. Glock machine gun conversion switches accounted for 38 of these devices. Mr. Augusto also had 4 forced reset triggers. So right there, 4 forced reset triggers are being defined as machine gun components. What kind of triggers were they? Well, the ATF statement states These included 3 Rare Breed FRT-15 triggers and 1 Tommy Triggers FRT-15 3MD. So these 4 forced reset triggers, 3 from Rare Breed, 1 from Tommy Triggers, the ATF is claiming that these and these alone constitute unlawful machine gun components and have arrested Mr. Augusto on that, in addition to all the Glock switches, which are kind of outside the scope of today's discussion. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have gone through the trials and tribulations of what's happening with these triggers when the ATF decided to start cracking down on them and what it really meant. And for many months, we suspected that the push and the impetus in the enforcement efforts were going to be within the FFL industry. Mr. Augusto, however, is a private citizen. He is not an FFL. He is not an arms dealer. He is a person who obviously purchases and deals frequently with firearm components. And yes, I get that the 38 Glock switches does make it a little bit unique. But let us not forget that he is being charged with possessing 4 components of a machine gun, and all 4 of them happen to be forced reset triggers, 3 of which happen to be Rare Breed. I think that there could be a larger push forthcoming on these Rare Breed triggers, and those of you who have purchased them and have already installed them in firearms, I think you should probably have a discussion as soon as possible with local counsel who understands both your state and local laws as well as the ATF. Listen, you may have more questions, comments, or concerns about this issue, and if you do, don't ever hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or of course you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now, let's remember, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.